All right, guys, welcome back. I figured I'd get a change of scenery here. From some of my videos, I get tired of looking at the same scenery in my own videos, so I can't imagine what it's like. But anyway, I'm over here at the other farm. This is a view you guys probably haven't seen before. I apologize for the dogs in the background, but I figured today I would show you some of my handiwork here at this place. All right, so you're looking at the front of the barn here. You can see it has a plaque on it right there. I had made that plaque. It says 1870. This house, or the barn here and the farmhouse, were built in the same year in 1870. There used to be an old hay barn in this area here that was standing. Then they built that barn, the bank barn, and then they tore this one down. But this one from 1870 is in very good condition as far as the structurally. I'd say the worst problem with it now is the carpenter ants. It does have carpenter ant damage, and I had tried to remedy that with some framing inside. But I figured I would just give you the story on the front of this barn and some of the things that were done. You'll notice the nice white metal tin roof. I had that put on 2013, 2012, somewhere back in there. Wasn't too bad. It was just this side. This is south. That corner of the barn was leaking so bad inside that it was time. So I think it was like $5,500 at the time. That was just the tin and the materials and labor, and then I had a couple extras done. Even though the farm here kind of sits down in a hollow here, we still get a lot of wind. So I was worried about wind, and when he put the furring on, we didn't tear the old roof off. He put the furring on, the strips, and I had him use real long nails that he nailed down through. They had like a resin coating on them, nailed down through, and I wanted him to hit the rafters with the furring to help hold it. And then the tin, the screws, I wanted real long screws to be able to get all the way down through, and he put a lot of screws in the way it looks. He really screwed that down good. It was a heck of a carpenter, because all these sheets are I think it was 27 feet or 28 feet from the peak down to the bottom here. He only wanted to put it on in one sheet. That way there's no seam, no chance to leak or rust or anything like that. So he got custom made panels, one sheet, and he had them all pre-drilled on the barn floor for the screws. And he hit every single one of them. So he was pretty good. Little bit of the history here, some other work I did. You'll see it has the front fascia there, so you'll never have to paint it. It's the aluminum. I had that put on. The sliding door track is painted black with Rust-Oleum paint. I was a little bit worried about that rusting away. The doors themselves were in pretty sorry shape when I was old enough to start doing stuff here. I actually made that wood framing, that white that you see there. I had made up all that. That's actually pressure treated, and I painted it with white exterior paint to help make it last a lot longer. I wanted the doors to be sealed up because this barn is completely sealed up. Those aren't bricks, those are shingles, asphalt shingles. This had the regular board and batten type style, and then they tore the bats off and put the asphalt shingles on to help preserve it. So this barn is very sealed up very well. The problem was there were holes in all the doorways in the doors, and you come out here late at night and there was raccoons or possums. I think I even remember seeing a fox run out the one time when I was younger. So I didn't want any animals inside there. There's a granary in the back. That's where I'd stored all my rye after I combined it. So I wanted to keep everything out of there. So I tightened up the doors and really made a nice front of the building. Over there, you'll notice a little bit of a lean-to shed. I put that on also. That was an addition to extend out where the milk house is. That tin was all recycled. A guy was going to be tearing down a wagon shed, and I asked him, could I have the tin? He said, go for it. I brought it all home, put it on, painted it. The roof also, painted it, and I could get my grain head in there, my 13-foot Massey grain head. I think it was 15-foot overall, so it was a nice lean-to. I think I got some two-bottom plows in that shed also, or two plows, not two plows. I had a 3-bottom and a 2-bottom. And you guys, of course, know about the this little lean-to I did the combine shed video that I'd started building and never actually finished. So I put that, well, that's a different light. I had put the wiring there for a outside light here. Dad has switched it over now to LED, which is a much better decision. When I had my Massey combine, like I said, the grain head would go over in that building. The corn head had to sit outside, unfortunately, but my combine, those two doors I was able to open and back the machine in, and that cement pad there, the wheels sat on, so none of the weight of the combine was on the barn floor. And with that large overhang right there, the only thing that was out in the weather was the feeder house, and I just had the feeder house down as far as it would go, and I didn't really have any problems. So that was the temporary storage, and then the permanent was going to be there. The top of the cab was right up to where the sliding door track was, so I just never could get it backed all the way in. And this floor would have probably taken it. This barn is massive, the framing. I'm not going to go inside because Dad has stuff stored in there, and I'm not going to give you a tour of somebody else's stuff. That little shed was like a coal over at the coal, where the coal lands are here. My granddad had towed that over with the Oliver 77. I did repaint it, put some trim on, make it a little nicer, new roof, jacked it up. It's on skis, so you can move it anywhere you want to go. It was like a tool shed for the coal industry. When they went out of business and abandoned everything, my granddad just brought it over here. It's just like a little garden shed. This is the chicken house I built. I built this from scratch with it's all up on cement blocks. Dad is using it for chickens. Got quite a few chickens running around. So this was a project. It was all rough cut lumber that I had sawed. I did the framing just out of 2x4s. I recycled some of the materials for the floor from a 1821 log cabin that I tore down here. I just had a wing here. Now Dad put this extra piece on for the chickens. And I also built a corn crib here for this side for storing some picked corn, just a small thing for basically for the chickens. So those windows in the front I recycled. Those you could flip up. You can flip them up and then hang them up on chains. Like I say, I apologize for the dogs barking. And there's a flip up window on this side, and all this tin was recycled from the 1821 log cabin. And then I have that on the back, one of those light panels that can slide in and out. One in the summer you can slide it out, and then it's just chicken wire to let some air in. So nice little chicken house. I don't know how many chickens he has in it, but like I say, if this inside was a little bit better in better shape, I'd show you guys the barn, but I'm not going to show you what Dad has stored here. But yeah, this is the like I say, 1870. I made that plaque for the outside here. It's got a brand new roof on this side. It's holding up pretty good. So like I say, just the carpenter ant issue, but an older building's going to have that. They did put a skim coat over the rock, so it's all sealed up on this side. Which is real nice to keep it protected. This was a heck of a barn. Underneath you had the stalls for the dairy cows. I still might do a video on that eventually. What else can I talk about this barn? I don't have much of a machine shed here, so a lot of my equipment was stored in these two bays here, and then the hay and straw I put out in this bay, and I had some spillover equipment in there. This was only a half, and then the other half is a real nice granary. But on these two doors I could get, this side I had two hay wagons, a silo blower, I know I don't have a silo, a baler, and something else. Anyway, in here I had my 4-row corn planter, corn picker, a round baler, quite a bit of stuff. It's a pretty wide barn. So yeah, this is the barn over at Dad's, built in 1870, very heavy duty. The advantage they had on this farm was they had their own sawmill, and having your own sawmill that was powered by water, a hydro sawmill. They were the lumber company in the area at the time. So they had pretty much lumber and the ability to saw their own lumber to build buildings. That's why they could build a house and a barn all in the same year. Some of the boards in there are so wide. They were just massive trees that they were running through this sawmill back in the 1800s. So a lot of barns, I think, in the area probably had lumber that was sawed here on this place. There is no remnants of the old sawmill left anymore. I can show you some where the outlet pipes are, maybe, from the way that the creek used to run. Sometime, maybe over the winter, when I have some more time. we'll get into that. But the other side of the roof faces north. That is shingles, asphalt shingles. They are starting to get very deteriorated. It's going to need a roof on the other side. But once the roof on the other side is done, this barn should be around for quite a while. The roof on the dairy barn that is on the opposite side, that is all aluminum roofing with cement block construction. And like I say, where the milk house is and that roof, I'd put some tin on most of it. So just have this project over here that never got finished. But what are you going to do? It's going to last a while yet. Those 6x6s are pretty sturdy, and like I say, the bottoms are tarred real heavy, so I don't know. But all right, I figured I'd just do a quick talk today on the on this barn over at Dad's. A lot of hay could fit in this barn. My uncle had told me that well, there's a cable running from this side of the barn all the way to this side of the barn, a heavy duty steel cable on the main framing timbers with a turnbuckle in the middle. They had to put that in because when they used to put hay in this barn, he said this barn was filled all the way up to the rafters with hay, and it would bulge out the sides of the building. So they had to put that cable in. You'll notice the roof is dipped there a little bit. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. The contractor, when he was here, said, yeah, it is very noticeable that there's a belly in it, and that is exactly where there is a pulley and a chain up in the rafters where they used to pull the hay in. And he was thinking maybe they just pulled a little bit too much at that spot because the rest of it's perfect. And there's no difference in the framing. It's just that one spot where that cable and chain was. So there's another cable pulley system down here that they had to get hay in the barn. So he said they could fill it, and it was all the way up to the rafters, so to feed the dairy cows and all the animals. So it's maybe not as big of a barn as the barn over at my place. The length might be the same here, but it's not nearly as high. It's a lot higher over where I'm at. But if you compared this barn to that barn, this one has a lot less structural problems, and it also has a lot more space for hay and that kind of stuff. But I'm not using it now for anything. It's just filled with stuff when Dad moved back here, so it is what it is. So maybe someday again. But you see the nice lightning rods. I actually have the pamphlet from the 20s, I think, 1920s, when they put those lightning rods on, the company that did it. I have the sales receipt from that long ago. So yeah, a little bit of history here. So all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's a busy day. We'll handle that when it comes.